Welcome to SVG Television's Evening News and Sports for Tuesday, January 7th, 2014. I'm Khalil Cato, and here are the details. Local authorities have confirmed that the search has been suspended for the 3 female bodies that are still unaccounted for following the December 24th disaster. Acting Commissioner of Police Michael Charles told SVG-TV News earlier today that following 4 consecutive days of search at sea for the missing women, a decision was taken on Friday, December 27th to suspend the search pending any new developments.
Up from Christmas Eve night, the Coast Guard was searching. They searched the 24th, the 25th, 26th, and the 27th. And the 27th, they went 13 miles west of Bookament and up to Chateaubriand and searching and then back up. There was no discovery. But as stated, the search has been suspended until any new development. According to my information, it's 3 persons. The 3 persons we have Giselle Morgan, 27, Shirley Edwards, 36, and Inca Jack, 12 years old. Those are the persons missing. I know if the bodies are recovered, the people will have closure to it, and so we are very hopeful that the bodies will appear.
Meanwhile, Deputy Commissioner of Police Reynold Hadaway is assuring the public that the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force has been and continues to make every effort to bring some form of normalcy back to the lives of those who were adversely affected by the December 24th trough system.
Everything that has transpired over the period is taken very seriously by the police, and we're doing everything in our power to ensure that everyone affected is given some level of comfort. It is a very challenging period. Persons have lost lives, loved ones, their properties and everything of that sort. And where the shelters are concerned, we are also have put things in place to give them a certain level of comfort away from their homes. It is a time when you would not have what you are accustomed to, and we all are aware of that. Under the circumstances, we are ensuring our utmost best that they are comfortable as much as possible.
Christmas 2013 has been recorded as a quiet one for the SVG by the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. The acting commissioner says that when compared to previous years, the 2013 Christmas season was quiet and uneventful outside of the disaster which affected the country significantly.
I know it's a disaster. I don't want to say thanks to the disaster, because everybody was more or less assisting with the disaster. And there's one thing I can say about the disaster, that there was a oneness. It was a Christmas Eve, a time of giving, loving, and sharing. And we kind of see this oneness where everybody jump in and help out their neighbors and so on. So I do hope that this type of spirit, the spirit of togetherness, continues throughout 2014 and beyond.
Mining operations at Rabaca and Brighton Bay have been closed until further notice, according to the Buildings, Roads and General Services Authority, BRAGZA. CEO of the company, Deidre Myers, says the operations had to be halted as a result of a number of factors, including impacts from the Christmas Eve trough system. Myers added that the public should take note of the changes.
With respect to the Rabaca operation, it has to do with the field bridge at Carrotop, where we are permitting heavy vehicles to cross the obvious reason which has failed. So until we have constructed a temporary pass over the Carrotop bridge, we will not be able to sell material from Rabaca. With respect to Brighton, we've been having, I think for the past 3 weeks or so, problems with the wave action at Brighton.
Meanwhile, Manager of Infrastructural Services at BRAGZA, Kenyatta Aline, says that even if they build river defenses, flooding will continue to take place here. He noted that in many instances, houses are built on riverbeds.
You're able to see some of the aerial shots, you'd realize you're very close to the river, but because it's usually always just a stream, then we tend to become comfortable and we think that, well, is not riverbed, but it was actually riverbed at some point in time, which may have become built up from deposition. When the river came down, it brought silt, and it keep building the banks, so it become safe and think we could settle in those areas. Without the proper river defense, it would happen again. And in some of the rivers that I've indicated, our first effort would be to secure the breach points. We have a shortage of equipment capable of doing that at the rate we want to meet.
46 more Vincentians will be recognized for their academic and professional achievements in various disciplines at the UWI Open Campus Annual Recognition Ceremony on Friday. The ceremony will be held at the Methodist Church Hall in Kingstown and will begin at 9 a.m. Director of Administration and University Registrar Clement William Iton will deliver the feature address, while the head of the Open Campus here, Deborah Dalrymple, will lead the procession. The PM tells the opposition leader there is no need for an invitation and all soldiers must report for duty. That story and more when the local scene continues on SVG-TV News. Welcome back to the evening news. We're still on the local scene. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves has responded to the leader of the opposition's disappointment at not being invited to the planning meeting on the recent disaster. At a media conference yesterday, PM Gonsalves says all relevant soldiers must report for duty, noting that there was no need for an invitation to the meeting. According to the Prime Minister, he is not about to get into politics at this time.
This was a meeting for a specific purpose and had no issues other than operational issues to be dealt with between banks and financial institutions. And if those, I understand that it is said that I even had people from overseas here who get how much percentage of vote and they weren't at the table. First of all, in this dealing with this disaster, I'm not addressing anybody's vanities. Not addressing anybody's vanities. I'm getting work done. And all soldiers who are relevant must report for duty.
As for the recently held planning meeting, the Prime Minister stated that it was not private and was opened to all.
The Caribbean Institute of Meteorology and Hydrology, United Nations Development Program, they were here. CDB was here, the Caribbean Development Bank, because they also have to provide money. That's what this was about. The Rear Admiral from Trinidad was sent as a special emissary, Rear Admiral Kelsall. The government of Barbados had a representative here. The regional security system had a representative because with the disaster security issues are involved. That's what this meeting was. So I don't want anybody to give any contrary impression. I believe many members in the media hung around. I think they stayed in. I didn't have any secret.
Plans are being put in place here to provide counseling for children affected by the recent disaster. According to PM Gonsalves, these children will need to be counseled to overcome what he calls a psychological problem.
The Ministry of Health has a number of counselors, but the decision was taken a week ago that they tap into the 60 counselors too, which are in the schools, 21 in secondary schools and 39 in primary schools, to assist them. As the schools recover, as the schools go back full time, the children in those families are going to have difficulties. So the counselors in those schools and those of the primary schools which don't have counselors, there's some counselors who have been assigned to double up, so to speak. We have to be mindful, and all the teachers have to be on the lookout for us to address those problems to those children.
The Prime Minister said the psychological suffering of some persons here includes all three disasters which have affected the country in recent times, namely Hurricane Tomas in 2010, the April floods of 2011, and now the 2013 Christmas Eve flooding.
You have to ask yourself, what am I to do? Where can I turn? The children have lost their books, their uniforms, and the like. Now, where are you going to stay? People might bring flour and sugar for you and rice, but where are you cooking them? This is why I have to get the fridge and the stoves in quite quickly. And they're suffering.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Gonzalez is urging volunteers to be guided under the principle of generosity and love during what he calls a difficult time for this country.
That is not the spirit in which people who are giving us will expect us to respond. So I just want to say that as a principle of operation, and I hope all the public servants hear me on this.
7 of the 8 water systems affected by the recent flash floods here have been restored. This is according to the Central Water and Sewerage Authority, the CWSA. In a release issued earlier today, the company states that restorative work continues on the Hermitage system, which has partially been restored, enough to supply residents of North Leeward with pipe-borne water. The company further states that construction work continues on the segment of pipeline supplying Belle Isle, Curtains, Barrowley and Peters Hope, which is expected to be fully restored by tomorrow. The CWSA is advising customers in affected areas that they still may experience periodic outages due to the need to continue repairs on smaller pipelines in the distribution network. And senior advisor of the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, Adranius Alugman, is advising persons not to bathe in rivers due to contamination. Officers in the Ministry of Health, along with the PAHO Senior Advisor for Sustainable Development and Environmental Health, held discussions recently where they highlighted a number of areas of concern, including solid waste management, vector control, and water safety. According to Alugman, the rivers may still be contaminated as a consequence of the recent flooding. He said contaminated waters can lead to the infection of the mucous membranes, namely the eyes, nose, ears, and mouth. The PAHO representative said they will be paying special attention to the quality of water and also monitoring recreational water to prevent the spread of diseases.